The moment my marriage ended arrived wrapped in laughter, music, and birthday candles melting into frosting. I stood in the center of the room, glowing with attention, while my husband hovered quietly beside me, holding concern he didn't know how to voice. When he finally whispered that my best guy friend seemed too close, I turned it into a joke. I teased him publicly, called him jealous, insecure, dramatic. The crowd roared with laughter. I felt admired, untouchable. My best friend raised a drink, smirking, placing his hand confidently on my back. Cameras flashed. Applause followed. My husband smiled, but it wasn't real. His eyes looked distant, wounded, like something sacred was slipping away. I didn't notice the shift in the room or the cost of my words. I only knew I was winning the moment, unaware I was losing everything that mattered forever. Our relationship hadn't always been this fragile. We once loved each other fiercely, passionately, without games or distractions. He trusted me completely, and instead of cherishing it, I exploited it. My best guy friend filled spaces my husband never knew were empty. I convinced myself it wasn't betrayal because I never admitted what it truly was. Late-night messages, private jokes, emotional intimacy disguised as friendship. My husband sensed something changing and asked carefully, respectfully, afraid of pushing me away. I answered with irritation and charm, painting him as controlling while I played innocent. Romance faded slowly, replaced by comfort and ego. I stopped choosing my husband in small moments long before the party. I didn't realize love doesn't collapse suddenly. It erodes quietly through neglect, defensiveness, and the repeated decision to prioritize validation over commitment, until respect disappears completely without warning. The party amplified everything I had been ignoring. My best friend stood too close, spoke too freely, laughed too confidently. When guests teased us about chemistry, I didn't correct them. I enjoyed it. Then my husband spoke, calm but trembling, asking if boundaries still mattered to me. I could have answered privately. Instead, I grabbed the microphone and made him the punchline. Laughter exploded again. Someone clapped. Someone recorded. My best friend bowed dramatically. Then my husband stood up. No anger. No yelling. Just quiet movement. He looked at me, really looked, as if memorizing the woman who chose humiliation over loyalty. His eyes weren't jealous. They were clear. He nodded slightly, accepting something painful, and walked out without a single word. The door closed gently, but the damage landed hard. I felt powerful for 1 second longer, before everything collapsed inward. The silence after he left felt heavier than any argument we'd ever had. Smiles faded. Conversations stumbled. I waited for him to return, to confront me, to demand explanation. He didn't. My chest tightened as realization crept in. Friends avoided my gaze. My best friend stepped back, suddenly unsure of his place. I walked down the hallway, staring at the empty doorway, my confidence dissolving into panic. I called his phone. Nothing. The party continued awkwardly, but I felt exposed, like my cruelty had finally been seen. That's when I understood something devastating. He hadn't left out of anger. He left because he finally accepted that I wouldn't protect him. In that moment, embarrassment turned into fear, and fear into clarity. I hadn't embarrassed him. I had freed him. And I was left standing where love used to be, surrounded by noise that suddenly meant nothing. When he finally reached out, it wasn't to argue or accuse. It was to end things with dignity. His messages were calm, measured, and devastating. He said betrayal wasn't about sex. It was about choosing someone else's comfort over your partner's pain. He said watching me laugh while others mocked him changed something permanently. I tried explaining, apologizing, rewriting the night with intentions instead of impact. He listened politely, like someone who no longer belonged to me. Lawyers replaced conversations. Papers replaced memories. My best guy friend vanished entirely, unwilling to remain once real consequences appeared. Romance returned only in painful flashbacks, moments I had taken for granted. I realized the party didn't destroy my marriage. It revealed what I had already destroyed privately. That night was simply when he stopped trying to survive the disrespect. Love didn't explode. It ended quietly, with self-respect choosing itself. Life after him was quieter than I expected, and much lonelier than I deserved. Therapy taught me words like accountability and emotional betrayal, but understanding didn't bring forgiveness. Birthdays came and went without celebration. I replayed that moment constantly, wishing I had defended him instead of entertaining a crowd. I learned that loyalty isn't proven by vows, but by protection, especially in public. Attention fades quickly, but regret settles permanently. Sometimes I imagined him happier, loved correctly, and that hurt more than abandonment. Romance, I learned too late, is choosing someone even when it costs applause. Growth arrived slowly, shaped by shame and responsibility, not sympathy. I stopped blaming circumstances and faced myself honestly. Cheating wasn't my worst mistake. Mocking the man who loved me was. That truth followed me everywhere, heavier than loneliness, reminding me that love demands courage before it demands passion. On my next birthday, I sat alone with one candle and no audience, finally honest with myself. I understood my marriage didn't end because my husband was jealous, but because I stopped valuing respect. Love needs defense, not laughter. I had traded something real for a moment of validation, and moments never stay. There was no reunion, no dramatic forgiveness, no second chance. Just a lesson etched into who I became. The crowd that laughed disappeared. The best friend faded. But the damage remained. I learned that humiliation leaves scars applause can't erase. The ending wasn't reconciliation or revenge. It was awareness. And awareness, when it comes too late, becomes punishment enough. I live differently now, knowing some mistakes don't ask for forgiveness, only accountability. I destroyed my marriage publicly, and I will remember that silence forever, because love doesn't die from jealousy. It dies when respect is mocked and loyalty becomes entertainment.